But as you think about that, I want to just end our time together this morning by looking at one of my favorite tools to stay connected to Jesus that we have here at Newday. And then look at some data that we recently connected on how we're doing at this. And then I want to leave you with one practical suggestion of how you can grow spiritually and stay connected to Jesus in 2018. But first of all, let me tell you about my favorite tool that we have here at Newday, and it's called the Personal Growth Plan, or what we call the Spiritual Growth Plan. And you may say, plan and spiritual, that just seems so incompatible. You can't plan spiritual things. That's unspiritual. You can't plan, right? But the reality is, again, if our entire role as Christ followers is to stay connected to Jesus, and we live in a world where it's incredibly difficult to stay connected to Jesus, then if I don't plan to stay connected to Jesus, I will fail to stay connected to Jesus, right? And so we need to have a plan. So we have this thing called the Spiritual Growth Plan, so we can be intentional. And this is kind of what it looks like. On the one, don't try to read that, please. But on the one side, it begins to talk about how we grow spiritually according to Jesus and according to our own experience. And we see that 3 necessary ingredients go into growing us spiritually. Just like a seed needs soil and water and sun, we need these 3 things to grow. And the first thing is relationship, spiritual relationship. That I need to be involved in a grow group or meet regularly with a friend to discuss the Bible or find a partner to encourage me to stay connected to Jesus. That relationships are such a vital part of growing spiritually. And so I need to take that into account as I put my plan together. Also, spiritual practices. We just talked about those, whether it's committing to reading the Bible or praying regularly, journaling on a Bible or other spiritual book, or spending time in solitude, or fasting, or Sabbath morning worship. Whatever it may be, that we have these things that we're regularly doing to connect to Jesus. And then finally, spiritual experiences are very important. That we would put ourselves in a place where God can grow us, like going on a spiritual retreat or a mission trip or being baptized or serving in the community or attending a class or whatever it may be. That we need all 3 of these things to be a part of what our plan is, because all 3 of these things grow us. And then on the other side of this card that every one of you is going to get as you leave today, by the way, and I hope you will put it into practice, it talks about how to put the plan together, actually, and how to put all 3 of those things into some kind of a structure that you're going to use throughout the year. And we would encourage you, number 1, to make it measurable. If you're going to have a plan to grow spiritually, it's got to be measurable. So a lot of times we'll use the word more. Well, I want to do this more. I want to pray more. I want to read the Bible more. I want to go to church more. I want to be in my group more. But more is not measurable. Right? And so the question is, what are you going to do that would be measurable? So maybe it would be, I'm going to read the Bible 4 or 5 times a week. I'm going to pray every day for 10 minutes. I'm going to meet with a friend twice a month to talk about what we're learning in the Bible. Make sure that it's measurable. And then number 2, we would say, make it realistic. If you're right now not praying at all, to set a goal of praying 2 hours a day, every day, it's probably not realistic, right? So make it realistic. You want it to be meaningful, what you're going to be doing. You want it to make an impact in your life, but you want it to be realistic and doable. And the last thing I would say about putting together a great plan would be, and you may think this is silly, but you've got to write it down. That's why we hand these things. You've got to write it down. You may think, well, I've got the plan in my mind, but study after study after study shows if you write something down, you're much more apt to do it. I read a study this week on one psychologist who did a study on hundreds of people and their goal setting, and she found that if you write your goals down, you're 42% more likely to keep them. And she explained why. She said, if you just think about your goals, it stays in the right hemisphere of your brain, the imagination side of your brain. But when you go to write it down, it actually creates a connection in your brain to the left side of your brain, the more logical side of your brain. And what that does is when you write it down is it sends a message to every cell in your body that this is what I want, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get it. Right? So we need to write these things down. It actually, God wired us to do this. All right, so that's the tool. You're going to get one as you leave. But here's what I want to talk about now. How are we doing with all this as a church? So at the end of 2017, you may have seen that we did a year-end survey. And in the year-end survey, we asked questions like, hey, how often are you reading and reflecting on the Bible? How often are you praying, engaging in prayer? How would you describe the stage of spiritual growth that you find yourself in right now? And 100 adults took part in the survey, which, by the way, thank you very much for those of you who did it. A special thanks for those of you who did it the first time I asked. As you may have seen, I had to keep saying, could you please fill this out? Because we had to get to 100. So, but thank you very much. We got some amazing data, and I'm going to share a little bit with you right now. But first of all, with Bible reading, we asked this question: how often do you read and reflect on the Bible? 25% of you say daily. On a daily basis, the Bible is a part of my life. That's pretty amazing. Another 36 say several times per week, which means a full 61%, more than 6 out of 10 people sitting in this room are engaging in the Bible at least several times a week. That is amazing. It's very, very formative, as we'll see. How about this? Several times a month was 22%, a few times a year, 15%. Only 2% say they never read and reflect on the Bible. That's okay. How about prayer? We asked this question. How often do you engage in morning or evening prayer? Wow, a lot more people praying than engaging in the Bible. 57% are praying on a daily basis, engaging God in prayer. 27% say several times a week. So that's like 84% right there that are praying at least several times a week. Again, a good, healthy sign. Oh, look at that. Where did that go? I'll go over here. Then we have several times per month. 12%, a few times a year, 2%, and then never 2% again. Look at that. How about this question? Where would you say you are in your spiritual journey at this stage right now? How would you describe your pace of spiritual growth? 9% say that they are in a season of rapid spiritual growth. And if you're there, you know you're there because life is exciting and God is doing amazing things in your life and you just feel like I need to fasten the seatbelt. We can't stay there, but when we're there, it's an amazing time when God is just growing us rapidly. 9% say they're there right now. 27% say they're growing at a moderate pace. 49% say they're growing at a slow and steady pace. 2% say they're content right where they are. I don't know who these two people are, but when they took this survey, they were in a bad mood because they don't read the Bible and they don't pray, and I'm content right where I am. I'm not going anywhere. So if you're here today, I love you, and I'm praying for you. 12% say, I have stalled spiritually. Now, this is pretty much in line with national averages, but yeah, this is the person that says, I'm in a rut, and I've been in this rut for a while. I'm not really going anywhere spiritually. I'm not growing. And it's not a good place to be, and I'd really love to get out of this rut. And if I could tell you one thing that you can do in 2018 that is guaranteed to get you out of stalled, to get you growing, to widen the circumference on your connection to Jesus, would you want to hear that? Would you say, I might actually even write that down on a spiritual growth plan and actually implement it in 2018? Because I'm going to tell you what we learned from this data, but it's also something that's been backed up by hundreds and hundreds of thousands of surveys done on Christians that determine what catalyzes our growth, what keeps us connected to Jesus. And here's how I found it on this survey is once we got all the survey data back, I started playing with it. And I started looking for trends. I started looking for anomalies. What are the catalytic things in the survey that really help people grow? And I kind of geek out on that kind of stuff. I have some fun with it. First I separated out people who say they're going to Parker and people who say they're going to Denver. I'm looking, is one site more like spiritual and connected than the other? And you know what I found? No. You guys are exactly alike. It's awesome. So everyone's kind of on par. Then I started looking at what about the people who are maybe living missionally or the people who are serving in the community? Is there anything different about these people? Are they growing at a different pace? There are some things a little different here or there, but nothing really conclusive. But then what I did was I looked at the 25% of people who say that they are reading and reflecting on the Bible on a daily basis. And my mind was blown because the numbers on every indicator were through the roof. Let me just show you this. So I keyed in on this. Those 25% of people who say they read the Bible every day. Now, this is a big pool of people, so this is very solid data for a church our size. Here's what I found. A couple of things. They're 42% more likely to serve in the community weekly. That they're 25% more likely to be living missionally, in other words, engaging with people outside of the faith in a hope of being able to share their faith at some point. That these people are 72% more likely to pray on a daily basis. Or how about this? If you read and reflect on the Bible on a daily basis, you are 320% more likely to be in a season of rapid spiritual growth. 29% of people who say they read and reflect on the Bible on a daily basis said, I am in a season of rapid spiritual growth, compared to only 9% who we don't know how often they're reading the Bible. This is conclusive data. And so, and again, other studies prove this as well. It doesn't matter what stage of spiritual growth you're in. If you're reading and reflecting on the Bible on a regular basis, it will be catalytic. It will connect you to Jesus. You will grow. And so, what do we do with this? I hope what you would do with this is that you would read the Bible. That you would reflect on the Bible on a daily basis. If you want to stay connected to Jesus, if you want to live into this name that we've given ourselves of Christ follower, that you would live as a Christ follower. You would connect to him by reading the Bible. I hope you get a personal growth plan and write in there, read the Bible daily. And then make that a plan. Now, a lot of us, we shy away from that. It's like, it just seems, I don't have time for that. I don't know if I could commit to that. But just know, this could look different for everybody, right? It doesn't have to be what we're doing right now we have the Read the Bible app that we're really encouraging people to do. And some of us are really excited about it and we're loving it. But maybe that's not where you are right now. Maybe it needs to look different for you. And so if you have YouVersion on your smartphone, and if you don't, I would encourage you to get it. Just Google or search for Bible in your app store, and YouVersion will be the first thing that pops up. It's a free app created by a church in Oklahoma. And it's amazing. They will have 100 different ways to get you the scripture on a daily basis. They'll send you 100 different reading plans that you could do. They'll send you just the verse of the day that you can meditate on. They'll send you verses throughout the day, every 3 hours or 4 hours, so that it's popping up on your phone. It could look like just taking your very favorite Bible verse, writing on a 3x5 card, and for like 3 weeks just kind of pulling it out every day and thinking about it. What does it say about God? What does it say about me? What does it say about our relationship? Kind of just reflecting on how can I apply this in my life. To be a Christ follower, it's all about connection. Jesus is inviting us into a connection with him. And he says if we stay connected to him, we will bear much fruit. But then he reminds us apart from him, we can do nothing.